The only people we're missing is Jerry, Sharon, and that's it. So we're good. Perfect. All right, John, how's that? Perfect. So, good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Township of Springfield's Planning Board meeting of December 7th, 2020 to order. Adequate notice has been given in accordance with the sunshine laws. Notice was published on October 15, 2020 in the Star Ledger, which is the official newspaper of the Township of Springfield for 2020, and posted on the Annex Building on October 16th, 2020. Let's do a salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for
which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Perfect. Thank you for putting up the flag. My printed version has gotten a little wrinkled, so that's perfect. All right, so let's do a quick roll call, Ms. Law.
Committeeman Rich Huber,
Present.
Mr. David Barnett,
Tammy, you're mute.
I'm here.
Okay.
Hi.
Thank you. Mr. Andrew Schwartz,
In attendance.
Mr. Aaron Loffer,
Here.
Mr. Jerry Fernandez is absent, Mr. Brian Brendel,
Here.
Ms. Marissa Ruggiero,
I'm here.
Mr. Scott Wishna,
He's here. You're on mute, Scott. Just wave hi. It's good. Now you're off mute.
You're
Good.
good. Thanks. Vice Chair Kessel is absent, and Chair Tiger.
Yes, I'm here.
We have a quorum.
Perfect. All right, this meeting will be fairly quick. We just have a few items. The first thing is RFPs for 2021 are on the townships. We've been sent out by the township. Jen has received them. They're on the Google Drive. I encourage you guys to review them. It'll be something that we will take up on our meeting in January. If anyone feels that the board should pull up in advance, we have a subcommittee that we can always pull up with Mrs. Kessel, Mr. Schwartz, and Mr. Barnett. We will pull up and review them if there's anything, but please feel free to email any comments to myself or Jen and decide whether there's a need to pull up. If not, we'll take action on our meeting in January. The November 2020 meeting minutes, I believe they were on the Google Drive. I'm sure everyone had a chance to review them. If anyone has any questions and concern, can I entertain a motion to approve the November 2020 meeting minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the November meeting minutes.
Second.
Thank you, David. Mr. Huber said, seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstain? Okay, good. Motion passes. Okay, we have three resolutions for tonight's meeting. Real quick, it's application 6-2020S. This is 65 Springfield Avenue Condominium Association, 65 Springfield Avenue, Block 301, Lot 3, for preliminary and final site plan for a front yard variance with the fence. The board acted favorably granting this at the last meeting. If everyone had a chance to review it, I know they were on the Google Drive. Anyone have any questions or concerns?
Nope.
Nope. Okay, so I see Mr. Barnett wants to make a motion.
I don't have the agenda in front of me, but I'd like to make a motion for the application that the chair just mentioned.
I'll second it.
Okay, can we have a roll call?
Mr. Barnett,
Yes.
Committeeman Huber,
Yes.
Mr. Schwartz,
Yes.
Mr. Loffer,
Yes.
Mr. Brendel,
Yes.
Ms. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Wishna,
Yes.
and Chair Tiger.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Perfect. The next one was for application 10-2020S. This for BP Products North America, 9 and 21 Mizell Avenue, block 811, lots 1 and 8. This for preliminary and final site plan for bulk variances. The charging stations, they appeared before the board last meeting. They were actually very good. They did some environmental things that we'll talk about in a little bit. I see Mr. Ruggiero wanting to make a motion to approve that application.
Absolutely. I will make a motion to approve the application that you just mentioned, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Mr. Brendel seconded. Roll call.
Ms. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Brendel,
Yes.
Committeeman Huber,
Yes.
Mr. Barnett,
Yes.
Mr. Schwartz,
Yes.
Ms. Lawfer,
Yes.
Mr. Wishna,
Yes.
and Chair Tiger.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, the next thing is, obviously we've been all virtual since, I believe, March. So it's been very difficult on everyone, obviously what's been going on, but it's been great that Apu and team have been able to bring us together virtually. So obviously we thank them for what they've done. There's been some amendments to the Open Public Meeting Acts that we need to adopt that gives us the authority to continue to do this. And I know there's a resolution that's attached to this that was on the Google Drive. And I'm going to turn it over to Glenn to quickly walk us through this at a high level. And then I'll ask the board to adopt the resolution and authorize me to sign this.
All right, we can go to the highest level and just say it's terrific, and we'll go from there. Andrew took a look at it. He had some changes that he suggested, and we'll get into those, or Andrew will get into those in a second. Essentially, this planning board remote public meeting protocol is something that was suggested by the state. We formulated it and changed it around so it would fit with our planning boards and zoning boards, and depending upon who it is. This is basically the rules of the game. I would tell you that you're already following them, but they suggested that we adopt something like this. So that's why we prepared it. If you have any questions, that's fine. But I suspect that based on everything going on, and nobody can be a complete prophet, but my guess is that we are going to have remote meetings through at least June or July, because I think that's when we'll get enough treatment out there so that there'll be some kind of herd immunity. So my counsel to all of my clients is that you should just figure that for the next 6 months, you're going to be on remote. Notice that, so that Jen only has to do it once and the applicants will come in. If you just read the classifieds once in a while, I don't have a life, but if you read the classifieds once in a while and see what Steve Hale is doing, he's got it down absolutely cold. Just look in the Star Ledger. He's in about every third or fourth day with a notice. That's what has to be done. But we want to set it up so that Jen only has to do it once, at most a couple of other times, to keep going. There's nothing really controversial here, other than the fact that you're going to need to be a little bit careful if people send in testimony before a hearing. There's a big controversy across the state as to whether or not you have to read the document into the record, even though you can't cross-examine it. My position is we can read a part of it into the record, and my suggestion is that the attorney for the board should be doing that as an executive summary. But we don't want to get into, and I got enough lawyers on this board to understand where I'm going. We don't want to get into a deal where you can't cross-examine a written statement. And yet that's exactly what Legislative Services and DCA suggested should happen. So we're going to be careful about that, and I certainly will help you with that. But I'll answer any questions you have or any comments. I think those are the main things. I'm trying to avoid paperwork. You don't have to publish notice each time with the paper because the Zoom numbers change and stuff. Jen can put that up on our site. We can keep the public alert. As long as everybody knows what it is we're doing and we're not doing anything in secret, we're okay. I'm done, Mr. Chairman.
Perfect. So I'll just tell you guys that, obviously, myself and Ms. Law are in contact with Mr. Capides and Mr. Weber, Deputy Mayor and Mayor. And, there's no plans immediately for us to go. The board, despite that, it becomes that we work it out with the mayor. We will make a decision to the board when we feel comfortable to go back. We'll toy with the ideas of maybe trying to do an outside meeting if possible in May, June, but it will be the board's decision on when it's safe for us to go and do something together again. So, Andrew, I'm going to pull the board for just any questions with us. Andrew, if you want to read the changes, I'll let you go first.
I've got typos. So Glenn, do you want me to read them to you?
No, why don't you just I couldn't see them on what you sent. So either resend it in a different form or we'll talk in the morning and I'll get Patty on the line. But the thing I got was absolutely clean, Andrew, from you. So I couldn't figure it out.
That's fine. I mean, as I said, they're all typos. None of them change the substance of the statements. So when we're done, I'll send it to you as a PDF.
Perfect.
Okay,
Thank
so
you. I'm sorry, I stole that from Jeff. I shouldn't use the word perfect. That's his word.
perfect. All right, so I'm just going to see Mr. Wishna. Any questions?
Sorry, I have to unmute the phone and the computer because I had to dial in by phone. So I think the one thing I want to make sure that we're doing is that any professional's testimony be done via video as if they were in front of us. I think we had a couple of situations come up where, you know, people were calling in, and it made the testimony and being able to have that, you know, trying to replace the intimacy of being in the same room is just not the same over the phone. So if we're adopting something, can we ensure that any professionals that are testifying in front of the board do so via video?
Yeah.
I think that's in here already. The only question
Okay.
I have, and this is to Apu, if a professional is hired by the public, are we going to be able to video them in too? And that's really the question I think that you're raising, buddy.
If a professional is hired by the public,
The objectors, so they're not part of the application stream.
yeah, if the chair designates, we can provide everybody on video, on camera, as long as the other person has the technology on their end.
Okay, that satisfies it for me. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
Okay, perfect. Mrs. Ruggiero? Any questions? You can just shake your head if
No,
you
I'm
want.
good. I'm good. Actually, that was one thing that I was going to talk about as well. That seems like that's been addressed, so thanks.
Perfect. Mr. Loeffler? You're shaking your head, which is okay. Mr. Brendel?
Nope, all good.
Mr. Barnett, you can't shake your head because it's your picture, so you got to tell me no.
He had no issues.
Perfect. Mr. Huber?
Yes, I think the chairman should have to shave every meeting.
You know,
I want that in that.
That I
resolution.
agree with. Add that to the motion.
really forgot. I'm sorry.
No, I'm good.
So, okay, well, good. So then I'd like to, just if someone can make a motion to authorize, the execution of the remote public meeting protocols, I'll sign it and send it to Jen for recording.
I'll make the motion to accept.
all
the
right, but
resolution.
it's subject to some changes that Andrew and I will go through. But they're only Scribners. They're not going to change the content of it. So as long as the mover and seconder are okay with that, that's good.
All right, so I'll move to accept the motions with any changes that will come up within the next 24 hours.
Perfect.
Give me 36, will you?
All right, 36 hours.
Mr. Huber, so roll call, Jen? Just do a roll call because I'm signing something.
Mr. Loeffler,
Yes.
Alderman Huber,
Yes.
Mr. Barnett,
You're
Yes.
lucky.
Mr. Schwartz,
Yes to approve.
Mr. Brendel,
Yes.
Ms. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Wishna,
Yes.
and Chairman Tiger.
I'd say perfect, but yes. So that puts that. So once a year, we have no applications tonight, so our meeting will be very quick. Once a year, we always like to invite our partners at the Environmental Commission to join and really tell us over the last year what they've been working on. I see you, Ally, to kind of tell us what they've been working on, what we can do. Marissa can update what we've been working on and so forth. We've been very fortunate. Marissa took over our environmental representative for us. I call her our expert for the board just 2 months ago. And she's had the ability to partner with Ally over the past couple of months to kind of talk through some of the things we've done. So I'm going to open it up for Marissa for a few minutes, then over to Ally for, little plus or minus 10 minutes. And then we'll open up to the board with any questions.
Chairman Tiger, can I just
Yeah.
interrupt you just 1 second, please? Apu, can you switch Betsy? She's in the waiting room to a panelist, please.
Yeah, and I see Betsy has 2 questions on the Q&A. Do that as well. So Marissa, I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So thank you. And I'm excited to be part of the Environmental Commission and excited to be working with Ally on a lot of the projects and I'm happy to be a part of it. So My understanding, and I'm new to both the planning board really and the environmental commission, but my understanding the main issue for 2020 really was ensuring that there was more pervious pavements to help absorb rainwater and to help mitigate flooding. So the planning board has attempted to address this issue, and one of the applications that this was an issue that we've addressed was in the BP application from last month. So we did put a condition of the resolution that the applicant would work with the board engineer to ensure the site meets all stormwater requirements for the township. And this can be achieved by several means and methods, including removal of unnecessary coverage elements, installation of stormwater facilities such as dry walls, or conversion of impervious pavements to pervious pavements. So that's the update that I have. I'm going to give the floor now to Ally so she can talk a little bit about what the commission has done this year and some of the things they'd like us to address for next year. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. And thank you for taking us seriously on stormwater regs and on pervious surfaces. Knowing that Springfield is in a flood zone, and even just this past storm the other day that we had, the Rahway River was really filling up. It was peaking and just close to coming over into the street and flooding. And this happens all the time. So the more pervious surfaces that we can have, the better it is for our town, because every construction project that's added adds to this problem. It goes into the stormwater, which goes into the storm drains, which goes into the river, and the river fills up that much quicker. So every little bit that we can do really helps. As far as this goes, this is leading into construction damage that's caused by trucks and projects going over the drip line of trees. I mentioned this briefly last year. I'd like to expand on it more this year. I've done a little research and made myself a little more educated in the area. It was something that one of the local landscapers had mentioned to me and wasn't even on my radar. But now that it's on my radar, I see that townships like Milburn and Summit and a lot of other surrounding towns have regulations as far as construction goes for trucks driving over the umbrella drip line of trees. If you're not familiar with the umbrella drip line is, you have the branches that come out. And as far as those branches go, that is the drip line. The root systems actually go 2 to 3 times further than the branches, but what's underneath the umbrella, the drip line, is really the core of the root system that's just more susceptible to damage. So that's really the part that we have to protect. So even like paving project, somebody putting in a patio, small tractors and things going over the root systems there can impact the trees. And it may not show right away. It happens over time. So 2, 3, 4, even up to 5 years after you've ridden over these root systems, that's when the tree will start dying, and people don't attribute it to the construction because it doesn't happen right away. It takes time, so they don't realize that that was the problem. What I did was I took some time to outline some suggestions on things that our township can do to protect these trees. Things like making mulchways where construction trucks can drive on so they know that they're not harming the root systems of the trees, and other small things. And I outlined them and I wrote them up, and I'll send them to Jeff, and you can distribute that. I don't want to, take up too much time. I want to cut to the chase. That was one of my big issues that I'd love for you guys to get on the books for this year to protect these trees, because even when you plant new trees, it takes years and years and years for the root systems to absorb water. These mature trees do the job on their own, and it's really worth protecting them, and it'll help us with our flooding issues, just small things like this. I also took the time to compile a list of trees, bushes, shrubs that are all good for wet soils, so that if you have projects, even ornamental grasses and stuff that like a lot of water, this way you can recommend them for construction projects, just indigenous species that absorb a lot of water and might help with future construction projects. Again, all these like little changes make a big difference when they're done properly.
Yeah, and I think that's been the overall goal of the planning board, and Mr. Disco keeps us very, very honest, as does Mr. Hughes, about making sure that the plans and any of the redevelopment stuff that we are doing, and we are really trying to make sure we're minimizing. Same thing like we did with Saks. The impervious coverage there was a full parking lot. We added green space and so forth. And there are projects, you guys have to realize that there aren't ways for us to do as best things as we are. But I think the overall goal, Mr. Schwartz, Ms. Kessel, the entire board is very important to keeps an eye on and looks at that.
Yeah, I realize that I'm not over the top, but if you're not aware of things like drip lines and tree root systems, then you don't know to add it to future projects. So I figure just bringing these things to your attention and sending some suggestions, you can look at them and see if they're feasible. And, you know, like I said, it can't hurt. These are all things that can only help us with our flooding issues as they're getting worse, and storm events are getting worse and more frequent. So it's just, you know, I'll send you all of the written up information, and I would really look at some of the ordinances that some of our surrounding towns have, because they have them in place, and I see the flags up when I'm walking dogs in Milburn and in Summit, and we don't do any of that. So it's something that we really need to start including in our future construction plans.
Yeah, so when we do an environmental, when we do our ordinance, or we have an ordinance committee, we'll make sure that, you know, Marissa gets put on there to be the liaison to make sure what you guys are discussing in the meetings carry over to what, you know, our subcommittee is. And we're going to have a new subcommittee for, you know, our ordinance committee that Mr. Disco leads starting in January. So we'll have Marissa make sure that she's on it. So there's the things that we can incorporate. We have a lot of redevelopment planned in the town, and we can make sure that things in the future include those things.
Fantastic. Thank you. I wanted to introduce Betsy Blondette, who heads our green team. She had some stuff she'd like to present to you guys as well. Betsy, go ahead.
Betsy, you're on mute. Betsy, you're on mute. If you can unmute.
I'm
Betsy.
sorry, I unmute myself. I was doing something else. Good evening, everybody. I just gonna follow what Allison said, because I sent you an email a long time ago about working in the flood mitigation risk, and this ties very close with what Ali presented. As you know, Springfield has a certification from Sustainable Jersey. And we are able to get grants and assistance for any environmental project that we have for sustainable projects. Well, it's an action that I need a committee, and I need the planning board, and of course, Mr. Disco, to work in this committee and provide information. I know the tools, you use them already. I sent an email that I can send it again. The New Jersey Flood Mapper, the Community Planning Evaluation Tool, and just the results. I know that the Emergency Management, they use this too. And the only thing that I need to put together is a committee that now Marisa can be part of it. And we all discuss around town the needs that we have to prevent flooding. That's all. We need to send information. What do you see in the tool? I'm pretty sure Mike is familiar with the tools, and we start from there. I have another committee member from the Green Team that is going to help too. I don't know.
Well, we will. So any of these information, please make sure Marissa has a copy of it. Marissa will make sure
everything
to Jen Law and myself, and then it'll get posted on our Google Drive, so we're aware of it. I will tell you that Mr. Disco is very aware of the flooding and helps the board, gives us suggestions on things we need to do to help avoid the flooding. And we will,
Yes.
we're
No,
all,
And here, just I need if the board discusses the needs for the town that using the flood mapper and the community planning evaluation. Even I can meet with Marisa and I don't know, Mr. Disco, and discuss how we can use that tool, because I had a training long time ago and I have the maps. I can share with you and you can use it in your Google Drive, because I have the Google Drive too with all the information.
okay, but between maybe now and our next meeting in January, Marissa can, or, your next environmental meeting, you can give all this to Marissa and help her, because she gives every month, Marissa, or almost every month, we could skip a month, she updates the board on what's going on with the environmental. So we make sure we're very clear on what's going on with your board, so it helps us do in the planning of ours.
Thank you.
So Ally, let me open it up to the board just to see if there's any questions of anyone, and then and Marissa, feel free to jump in. Mr. Huber?
Good evening, Ally.
Hi, how you doing?
All right, how are you? And Betsy?
Good, nice to see you.
You can get it to the committee, because we will get ordinances passed that we can do that. I know in New York, they have to protect all the trees around them before they can even start. It has to be approved and all that. It's just something else for Mike to do. He doesn't have enough to do. But I mean, all seriousness, get it to us, and they will start protecting the trees and that.
Fantastic.
All right.
Thanks, Rick.
Yep.
Mr. Barnett?
As usual, Ally, I thank you and the rest of the Environmental Commission, Betsy as well, for all the work that you and your group does. So thank you. I don't have any specific comments right now, other than another year of thanking you.
My pleasure.
Perfect. Thank you. Mr. Schwartz?
Other than saying thank you, I've got nothing to add.
Okay, we'll skip Mr. Fernandez because he's not here. Mr. Brendel?
Same. Hi, Ally, and thank you,
Hi.
love. Appreciate it.
Aaron?
I love that I know most of you.
Really?
Hi, Ally. This is Aaron. Good seeing you. Long time.
Yeah.
Thank you for all the work you do, and I have no questions.
Mr. Wishna?
Unmute, Scott. I'm sorry.
His wife would like to mute at all times. Another discussion. That's Scott.
Yeah. I'm usually muted. That's the thing. No, I appreciate the presentation. I can't wait to use the term drip line as soon as possible. It'll become a drinking game, but
Nice.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Perfect. I'll end with you, Marissa. Any closing comments?
No, I'm just very excited to be working with Ally. Thank you for all the hard work that you're doing. And I think we have a lot of good ideas and looking forward to it. So thank you.
Yeah, me too. I'm
Yeah.
psyched to have you on board. Marissa and I have worked on boards together before, so we know we work well together.
That's good. She's gonna have a good time with it. So we will. We thank you. It doesn't have to be yearly. Maybe in the middle of the year, we'll get you back for a quick virtual meeting to kind of give us an update. And any updates, Marissa will pose back to you. So on behalf of the board, thank you very much for joining us, Betsy. You too, Ally. And I think if we all continue to work together, we can make Springfield great.
Thank you. Thank you. I
Good stuff.
appreciate all your help, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And happy, healthy new year, because I won't see you till after then. So.
Well, we all won't see each other till next year at this point in time too. So that's the same thing. So Betsy, before I let you go, can you, I guess we answered your questions in the live queue. We can say, okay.
Okay.
Perfect. So at this point, I'm going to take the opportunity to open this meeting up to the public. Any members of the public that wish to have any questions or concerns before the board, please speak up and go in the Q&A and raise your hand and we'll answer the question and bring you in. Okay, seeing none other than Betsy, the ones that you sent in that we discussed, I'm going to close this matter up to the public. And before we adjourn, our next meeting will be January 4th. It will be our reorg as well as our monthly meeting at 5:30. All of our meetings until we as the board agree that we will go in person again, will be in 5:30 until further notice. So with that, I see Mr. Schwartz wants to make a motion to adjourn. He seems
I
very-
would love to make a motion to adjourn, so consider this a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Okay.
And I want to thank everybody for being on this board, for helping us out during the year.
Yes. It's
You're
been a
welcome.
great year.
I hope
We'll see you next year.
Who's back next year? I don't know if I'll be over here, but I do appreciate all your work.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a happy and healthy
And
new year.
bye.
Hi, everyone.
Happy New
You guys.
Thanks, guys.
Everyone.
Be safe and be well, everybody.
You too. Have a good holiday, man.
Aye to adjourning.
Happy holidays too, Rich, and everybody else. Bye, Melissa.